Dr. Elara Myles leaned closer to the screen, her breath fogging the glass of her helmet as the spectrogram lit up with a new anomaly. At first, it resembled ordinary cosmic background noise, white static embedded in a cradle of electromagnetic hiss. But there was something deeper threaded within, a kind of rhythm, unsettling and deliberate, like a scream woven through centuries of silence. The sound hadn't come from a supernova or a neutron star. It had come from Kepler 1128b, a planet declared geologically dead 80 years ago. Elara tapped a waveform, slowing it down, stretching the sequence until it pulsed like a heartbeat. Her lab, tucked within the orbiting SolNet research array, was supposed to track solar winds and meteorological interference, not decode death rattles from long-dead worlds. "You're not supposed to be talking," she whispered. The sound replied with another pattern, just slightly different, as if it had heard her. Before she could process the unease curling in her gut, the calm link chimed. The stern voice of Commander Riaz Velasquez cut through the static. "Elara, something's wrong." Orbital alignment just shifted on satellite Echo 4. It reoriented on its own toward Kepler 1128b. All auto-navigation parameters were overridden. Her pulse quickened. "You're saying the satellite heard it too?" "No, I'm saying the satellite responded to it." She sat upright, eyes darting across her monitors. Graphs fluctuated erratically. 2 more satellites were redirecting, locking onto the same planetary coordinates. It wasn't coincidence. It was convergence. "Send me full telemetry." "I need data from the last 3 hours," she said, voice tense but controlled. Her fingers moved quickly, drawing a waveform through increasingly complex filters. Beneath the noise, a modulated signal emerged, structured, deliberate, terrifyingly intelligent. Not a scream of pain, a scream of warning. Back on Earth, across control centers and military communication networks, the anomaly was dismissed as a glitch. Officials rolled their eyes, scientists debated. But the signal didn't stop. It grew clearer, as though calibrating itself to be understood. Elara pushed harder. She had no time for skepticism. With Riai's help, she bypassed the standard encryption locks and accessed the deep learning processor meant for decoding alien languages, an obsolete relic from the hopeful days of the SETI Renaissance. It had never decoded a single meaningful phrase. Until now, the translation rendered in 3 words, repeated over and over in cold blue text. Only Earth hears. The room fell silent. "Elara," Riai said, barely above a whisper, "we need to talk. In person." "Is this a threat?" she asked. "It's worse. If we're the only ones hearing it, then maybe we're the only ones left to respond." The silence that followed was not empty. It was taut with dread. The next day, Earth's atmospheric sensors began picking up low-frequency oscillations echoing from the upper stratosphere, undetectable to human ears, but strong enough to interfere with birds, insects, and migratory routes. Navigation systems faltered. Seismic sensors across the globe began detecting minute tremors with no epicenter. Deep within the oceans, whales changed their migration patterns, responding to a call no one had yet understood. In meetings filled with graphs, projections, and stammering experts, Elara stood in front of world leaders and begged them to listen. "The scream is not natural," she said. "It's not a cry of agony. It's a remnant, a memory of something that happened. And it's broadcasting to us alone." "Why us?" someone asked. She didn't answer. She didn't know. But the frequency, she had discovered, wasn't just compatible with Earth's electromagnetic profile. It resonated with it, like a key in a lock. That night, as the skies shimmered with unnatural auroras and atmospheric static danced across cell towers and power grids, Elara sat alone, replaying the waveform. She slowed it again, this time reducing it to a crawl. The result was unmistakable. A voice, buried deep inside the scream, beneath the chaos of radiation and decay. A voice whispered in a language half recognized by every brainwave scan she ran. It wasn't speaking English or any known tongue, but every listener understood the feeling behind it. Desperation. Terror. A final attempt at connection. She turned off the lights and played the full sequence on loop. Over and over, the same spectral cadence. It called not just from a planet that was dead, but from something older than its death. Elara had the sense of something vast, something not entirely gone, stretching across the void, clawing for notice with a dying breath. And somehow, Earth had been chosen or cursed to be the only one who could hear. But why? And what would happen when the scream finally stopped? She didn't sleep. Neither did Eyes. Their private channel burned with theories, old planetary myths, and ancient star charts. Kepler, 1128b, had once been considered a candidate for colonization, but every probe sent their return images of scorched land, dead oceans, and static-filled silence. But what if it hadn't always been that way? Elara pulled out an old probe record, one she'd seen years ago and had dismissed like everyone else. Amid the garbled data and scorched terrain, a shadow stood upright in a crater. Tall, symmetrical, unnatural. No one had ever investigated further. Now, with the scream, it felt like that shadow had opened its mouth. The next transmission came 12 hours later. Every dish on Earth turned toward Kepler, 1128b, to record it, whether authorized or not. No translation software could parse it. But every human who heard it, no matter the language they spoke, described the same thing. A nightmare voice whispering inside their heads. The dead do not rest. They wait. Then silence. Not a technical glitch. Not interference. An intentional, thunderous silence. And in that silence, Elara realized something dreadful. The scream had not been a call for help. It had been a warning. And now that it had been delivered, something else could begin. The probe breached Kepler, 1128b's atmosphere in silence, descending through a choked sky the color of rusted iron. No wind stirred. No clouds moved. Below, the surface lay fractured and still, scars of tectonic fury frozen in time. From orbit, the planet looked lifeless. From the surface, it felt haunted. Dr. Elara Myles watched a live feed from the control room aboard the SolNet array. The probe's camera panned slowly across a jagged canyon rim, revealing obsidian-like formations that jutted from the earth like broken teeth. At the edge of one ravine, a towering spire rose, symmetrical, unnaturally smooth, blacker than the space surrounding it. Eyes Velasquez stood beside her, arms crossed. That structure wasn't on the original scans from 80 years ago. It's been buried. Elara said quietly, enlarging the image. Now the ground shifted. Whatever that is, it's been unearthed by time or intention. The probe hovered closer. The spire's surface reflected no light, not even from the probe's own beams. Symbols, curved, mathematical, almost organic, had been etched along its face. It wasn't made of stone. It looked grown, as if the planet itself had birthed it. A new signal burst through the probe's telemetry, high-pitched and erratic, almost like a scream within a scream. Every monitor in the room flickered. Engineers scrambled to isolate the frequency, but Elara had already recognized the pattern. It's the same structure as the signal we received. It's repeating, but it's degraded, she murmured. As if it's dying. Eyes leaned in. Can you translate it? Not fully, but I've seen pieces. It's a warning repeated through time, preserved in architecture, in resonance, maybe even in memory. This isn't just a recording. It's a kind of signal fossil. The probe drifted lower, transmitting new data. Traces of complex organic compounds fused into the stone, remnants of biological life that had merged with machine. As the spire's base came into view, the terrain revealed a circular array of ruins surrounding it, like a cathedral built for a god no longer present. Elara's voice dropped. This wasn't a city. It was a containment field. You think something was buried here? Eyes asked. No, she replied. I think something lived here. Something vast, synthetic, and maybe conscious. Hours later, back in her lab, Elara processed the sonic structure of the original scream and matched it against the probe's environmental readings. The match was unmistakable. The sound wasn't traveling through space. It was bleeding out of the planet's crust, transmitted on subatomic particles, bouncing across gravitational eddies and dark matter filaments. It hadn't just reached Earth by chance. It had targeted Earth. She sifted through linguistic fragments buried in the noise. Ancient phonemes wove into repeating phrases, recursive loops of warning and memory. After hours of filtering, one translated clearly. The silence came for the Volari. The name dropped like ice into her thoughts. She cross-referenced the term through forgotten archives, discredited records from pre-contact archaeological missions that had once speculated on pangalactic seeders of life. The Volari had always been a myth, a whisper of civilization that supposedly existed before Earth's star had even ignited. But the scream was real. The probe sent back one final image before its feed abruptly cut. An interior shot, just before entering the spire. A corridor lined with fractal geometry, walls pulsing faintly with bioluminescent veins. And then, in the center, a skeletal figure fused to a throne-like structure, head tilted upward, mouth open in a permanent, silent scream. It was humanoid, but not human. Elongated limbs, carapace-like skin, and neural interfaces grown into the skull. The scream hadn't come from a machine. It had come from them. The Volari embedded their last memory into the planet. Elara said to Myles later that night, "It's not a message. It's a trapdoor. They wanted someone to hear it, to remember them, or maybe to warn us not to repeat their mistake." Myles shook his head slowly. "But why now? Why Earth?" Elara hesitated. "Because Earth is the only planet whose frequency still resonates with theirs. The others may have gone silent or fallen. The scream may have gone unnoticed for millennia, drifting until it found a match. So we're the key," he asked, "or the next in line?" Earth's leaders began to panic behind closed doors. Rumors circulated about increasing electromagnetic interference with weather systems and digital infrastructure. Several countries implemented blackouts in key observatories, hoping to block the scream's influence. Others proposed launching missiles at the signal source, a laughably futile gesture across light years. Elara and Myles pushed back, rallying a network of scientists to continue decoding. Their opposition wasn't just ignorance, it was fear. Fear that the scream wasn't a warning at all, but a summoning, because the signal had changed. It no longer pulsed in anguish. It had begun to harmonize with Earth's own magnetic field. The planet was no longer just listening. It was resonating. At the core of the harmonic signal, Elara found a final phrase, shorter, clearer, as if meant to be heard without filter. The silence follows the scream. A chill crept over her skin. The scream was ending, which meant whatever followed had already begun its descent. The scream stopped at 3:17 Universal Time Coordinated. There was no warning, no tapering echo or fade. One moment, Earth's magnetic field pulsed in synchrony with Kepler, 1128 BS' last dying cry. The next, silence reigned. Not technological silence, true silence. A void so complete that instruments normally filled with background cosmic noise reported nothing. Not static, not radiation, not even the hum of the universe. Dr. Elara Myles stood motionless in front of her monitors, watching every trace line flatten. The instruments hadn't failed. The signal had vanished. It was as if the planet had finally exhaled and died for good, but she didn't believe it. Beside her, Myles Velasquez lowered his comms headset slowly. Global comms confirmed the same. No trace left. Even the atmospheric anomalies are gone. Elara's chest tightened. Then it's not over. It's only just begun. The first symptom was the birds. Flocks across North America, Asia, and parts of Europe began crashing mid-flight. Entire murmurations spiraled downward, their orientation disrupted. Autopsies later showed ruptured inner ears, neurological short-circuiting. The same was reported with migratory whales, which beached en masse along coastlines. Their internal navigation system scrambled. Earth was no longer vibrating in harmony. It was now falling out of tune. Worse followed. Satellite constellations drifted subtly off course. Navigation systems lost calibration. Satellites reorienting without command. Deep space telescopes refused to lock on target, their guidance systems refusing to point beyond Earth's orbit, as if something unseen was pulling their gaze away from the stars. In the chaos, governments scrambled for control. Panic grew behind closed doors. While the public was fed soft reports about magnetic anomalies and temporary system glitches, Elara and Myles were pulled into emergency sessions with planetary defense coalitions. Military commanders demanded answers she couldn't give. "I don't know what follows the scream," she told them, "but it isn't friendly. The Volari left a warning, and we may already be too late." One official leaned forward, eyes hollow. "Then what is coming?" Elara swallowed hard. the silence. The term spread quickly, part myth, part threat, part unknown entity. Some believed it to be a weapon, others a cosmic predator. A few, more radically, theorized that the silence wasn't a being at all, but a state, an entropy field that consumed civilizations advanced enough to hear the scream. Elara didn't speculate. She studied. Through sleepless nights, she parsed Volari linguistic sequences and cross-referenced harmonic data from the last pulse. What she found horrified her. Hidden deep in the scream's architecture had been a nested pattern, one resembling a countdown, and it had ended when the scream ceased. Ri stood beside her in the observatory dome, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath the stars. We're already inside it, aren't we? The silence isn't coming. It's here. She nodded. And it's changing us. Then we fight. Against what? She said bitterly. A concept? A force that eats memory, bends physics, and silences reality. Then we resist. On our terms. Together, they began building a plan. A last defense using the Volari's forgotten technology. From the fragments encoded in the probe's data, they reconstructed blueprints for a harmonic shield, an atmospheric resonance field that could mask Earth's vibrational signature, rendering it invisible to the entity. But the design was incomplete, and the science dangerously experimental. Time was not on their side. The global scientific alliance fractured under pressure. Some nations pushed forward with a harmonic shield. Others feared activating alien tech would accelerate Earth's destruction. A splinter group proposed broadcasting a stronger scream, amplifying the signal outward in hopes another civilization might hear and come to aid. But Elara suspected any such reply might only bring more silence. The tipping point came when one of the prototype towers, built in the Atacama Desert, activated prematurely during testing. For 3 minutes, it resonated perfectly. All global instruments stabilized. Animal life in a 50-kilometer radius returned to normal. Then it collapsed. The tower imploded in on itself, crushed not by force but by absence. Its final transmission recorded a single phrase. It sees us. Earth had blinked in the dark, and something had blinked back. Elara stood in her lab, staring at the black box from the tower. It vibrated gently on her desk, although no instruments registered movement. A hum inside it matched the remnants of the Volari signal. Not dead, just dormant. They weren't just warning us, she whispered. They were handing us a choice. Ri entered quietly, a coded datapad in hand. The Alliance has approved the shield. We begin construction in 24 hours. They want you to lead it. She hesitated. There's more, he said grimly, passing the datapad to her. The data showed dozens of planets, formerly scanned and listed as lifeless, now broadcasting the same scream Earth had received. Faint, decayed echoes rippling outward. The chorus was growing, and Earth had been the first to hear. A silence settled between them, not of peace, but of shared dread. Elara placed her hand over the vibrating box. This isn't just about saving Earth. Ri nodded. It's about making sure someone's left to listen. The shield activated beneath the sky, churning with unnatural light. At first, there was no change, no seismic tremor, no sudden cascade of energy. Just a low, harmonic resonance that vibrated in the bones, not the ears. From a high-orbit SolNet array, Earth looked unchanged, serene even, but Elara Myles knew better. The silence had not departed. It was watching. The global harmonic shield, pieced together from fragments of Volari code and patched with desperate human ingenuity, thrummed across the ionosphere. Invisible to the eye, it distorted Earth's resonance signature, shifting its vibrational profile into a false key. The goal was simple, make Earth sound dead. But deception on that scale came at a cost. Elara stood alone in the shield's core control chamber, deep beneath the Greenland ice. Ri's voice crackled through the comms, distorted by atmospheric flux. Stability reading is holding at 89%. Signal displacement, optimal. She closed her eyes. Then we bought time, but not peace. Above, solar winds bent strangely around Earth, refracted by the artificial frequency hum. For a moment, it worked. The stars, once eerily quiet, resumed their distant chatter. Instruments detected background radiation returning. Systems across the globe began stabilizing. Humanity, it seemed, was invisible again, but only to the stars, not to the silence. 2 hours later, a second signal arrived, this one untraceable, multidimensional. It did not travel through space. It unfolded into Earth's reality, not as sound but as memory. People across continents woke from dreams they could not explain. Visions of vast dead cities, of black towers humming with screams, of their own voices speaking in languages no one had ever taught them. Elara, too, dreamed. She saw the Volari, not in death, but in desperate creation. Engineers and scientists, eyes wild with fear, carving their last hope into bones of their planet. A massive neural lattice designed not to save them, but to remember them. Their entire civilization compressed into a scream meant for one species, one world, one chance at survival. They had not tried to run. They had tried to warn. When she awoke, she understood. The harmonic shield was not enough. It could hide Earth's frequency, but not its presence. Not anymore. The silence had tasted the scream, and now it lingered not to destroy, but to assimilate. It was not a hunter. It was a gravekeeper. Riaz met her on the launch pad above the Arctic Shield node. His face, usually calm and composed, was etched with sleeplessness. "They want to shut it down," he said. "Some of the coalition leaders think the shield is drawing more attention. They don't understand what you've learned." "They understand," Elara replied. "They're just afraid." He looked up toward the stars. "What are we going to do?" "We finish it," she said. "The Volari didn't just leave us a shield. They left us a path. I can link with the core and recalibrate the entire field of pulse like a dead world. Broadcast silence not just on frequency, but across cognitive resonance. Earth will become a blind spot in reality itself." "You mean you'll link with it?" She nodded. He stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to." "I do," she said softly. "Their scream needs to end through us. Not for us." Inside the central chamber, the neural lattice interfaced with Elara's consciousness. The technology was too advanced to be entirely understood. It required more than inputs and codes. It needed intention, presence, a mind willing to echo extinction. As the process began, she felt the Volari's memories pour through her, tragedy and brilliance interlaced. Whole cities wiped from timelines, languages folded into energy, songs stored in silence. Their world had died, so another might learn. Her thoughts reached outward, looping across the shield array. Each pulse dulled the planet's voice, until Earth sang no longer. It breathed nothing. It became still. The silence listened, and passed by. The last thing she felt before losing contact with her body was Riai's voice, carried not by calms but by memory. "If you can hear this, I'm still listening." The transition was immediate. Riai stood outside the chamber hours later. The shield remained stable. Earth had gone quiet again, truly quiet. The strange dream stopped. The anomalies faded. The sky was no longer watching. But Elara was gone. Her body remained intact. Brain activity ceased. And yet at the core of the shield, the lattice hummed with a faint echo, one that was in the logs. A whisper, repeating every 6 hours. "Still here. He visits often. He speaks aloud when no one else is listening. Some think he's grieving. Others say he's mad. But he knows better." The dead planet had screamed. Earth had heard. And now, Earth remembered.